Baby, listen to me with the same stillness you use when you're watching rain trace its way down a window. I need you like that. Quiet, present, without the noise of everything that's come before us. Because there's something I've carried for too long. Something I've worshipped and wrestled with at the same time. And it's you. It's this one quality you have that I admire so deeply it almost hurts. The same quality that keeps reminding me there are two sides to you. Two oceans that don't always meet. Two seasons shifting inside one sky. And every time I try to name it, the words feel too small for what I'm trying to hold. It's the way you love, baby. That's the quality. The way you can walk into a room and soften everything without even touching it. The way you can look at a person and the wind inside them changes direction. You don't announce that you're safe. People just know. You don't perform kindness. You breathe it. You've taught me that love isn't a performance anyway. It's a temperature. When you are near, the air itself remembers spring. You know what that does to a man who thought winter was permanent. It makes him weep in the places he once guarded with irony. And yet there is the other side. The side that scares me. Not because it is cruel, but because it is holy. The side that can disappear into silence and call it prayer. The side that can close an open door without slamming it, and the click of that lock sounds like scripture and a warning at the same time. You can love like a river and withdraw like a tide, and I never know when I'll be left standing on the shore with my handful of shells, whispering, "Where did she go?" It's not punishment when you pull back. It's protection. I know that. I think the angels taught you that silence is a sanctuary, and you use it the way other people use shouting. That is your second side. Your boundary that bows to no one, not even me, not even the ache in my chest when I miss you. When I first met you, I thought you were a soft thing. I was wrong. You are softness built on steel. You are mercy with a backbone. You are forgiveness that carries its own lock and key. I admire it so much I almost flinch in front of it, because it tells the truth about me. I wanted a love that would never leave, and you are a love that will leave the moment it has to protect its peace. You are both the healer and the holy distance. You are the balm and the boundary. And I swear, baby, when I realized that, I felt both safe and challenged in the same breath, like I had been invited into a cathedral and asked to take off my shoes. There were days I tried to pull you to the side that favored me. You know which side I mean. The side where you laugh too hard at my jokes and answer my texts too fast and fold your day around my timing. The side where your devotion is a warm lamp and I am a cold room. I was selfish with that light. I wanted it always on. But love is not a lamp. It's a sunrise. It has a rhythm. It honors the horizon. It arrives because it's time, not because someone begged. You showed me that. You showed me that love doesn't exhaust itself to prove it's real. It protects its flame so it can keep burning. It says yes with both hands and says no without apology. You taught me to call that no a holy word. I remember the first night your two sides showed up in the same hour. We were on the phone. The world was quiet, and I confessed something I'd never told anyone. How I still wake up some mornings, heavy with a fear that I will ruin every good thing I touch. I waited for you to rescue me. Instead, you did something braver. You told me you loved me, and then you told me you would not carry what I refused to release. You said, "I'll hold your hand while you drop it, but I won't hold the weight for you. Baby, that sentence grabbed me by the soul. It was tenderness and thunder together. It was the river and the tide. It was your quality, your impossible union of gentleness and holiness, showing me how to become a man. You have this way of listening like you're taking a vow, and then speaking like you're keeping it. That's why when you fall quiet, it doesn't feel like absence. It feels like a sanctuary closing its doors for the night. I used to take it personally. I thought your silence meant I had lost you. Now I know your silence is how you keep you. It's the room where you place your heart when the world starts grabbing at it. It's the pause where you ask heaven for the right words so you don't waste any. I admire that. God, I admire that. I've used words like bandages. You use them like seeds. You'd rather say nothing than plant something that grows into thorns. Do you know how rare that is? And still, there's the ache of loving a woman who refuses to bend where it would break her, the ache of wanting to be invited into every sacred room inside you, and knowing that some rooms are for God and your future peace alone. I speak this not as a complaint, but as a confession. Sometimes the boy in me scrapes his knees on that boundary. Sometimes he knocks too loud at your door and calls it urgency when it's really fear. Sometimes he begs for constant proof because he doesn't yet believe he's worthy of constant love. And when you put your hand on his shoulder and tell him, breathe, when you say, if I must bleed to convince you it is not love, it is panic, I break and become honest again. And I become, there's another side to you I don't talk about enough. The side that builds without posting the blueprint. You make quiet moves. You water what you want to grow, and you do it off camera, off stage, off the timeline. The world claps for noise. You trust the root. I've watched you rebuild yourself without an audience. I've watched you heal your old wounds and never ask the room to clap for your bandages. You exit a season with a softness that makes people think it didn't hurt. It did. You just chose devotion over drama. You chose growth over gossip. You chose being real over being performative. And sometimes that looks like disappearing. Sometimes that looks like two sides to people who only know one. But I know better. Both sides are the same vow. To yourself, to God, to love that doesn't need witnesses to be true. Baby, do you know what your quality did to me? It built a mirror where I used to keep a mask. It made me face the ways I've loved from hunger instead of holiness. It asked me to trade urgency for integrity. It asked me to sit with the shaking in my own body and stop asking you to hold it still for me. I used to equate closeness with constant access. You taught me that closeness is sacred access. It is earned through honor, not pried open through panic. It's the way I speak about you when you're not there. It's the way I make choices when no one is watching. It's how quickly I apologize without wrapping apologies in excuses. It's whether I protect your name even from my own insecurity. That is the curriculum of your love. And I am finally doing the homework without cheating. Sometimes I imagine your heart as a house on a hill. There's a porch where the world can wave, a living room for friends who come with flowers, and then a small, sunlit kitchen where you keep your grandmother's recipes and your most private laughter. Very few people are allowed in that kitchen. Fewer still are invited to wash dishes with you in the quiet after a long day. I want to be that man, the man who wipes the counter while you hum and never posts a photo of the moment because the holiness would be ruined by applause. The boy in me wanted the front porch parade. The man in me wants the kitchen light. Your two sides taught me the difference. And here is a truth I've been afraid to say out loud. Your two sides were never my problem. My half-grown self was. I wanted love to be the room that solved me. You wanted love to be the place where we both grew on purpose. I wanted forever to mean no boundaries ever again. You wanted forever to mean honor the boundaries that keep us pure. I hear you now. I did not always the quality I admire in you. Your holy union of tenderness and truth. Kept asking me the only question that matters. Will you become the man who can love me without shrinking me? I am answering with my life now, not just my lips. You once told me I mistake intensity for intimacy. That sentence rang inside me for weeks. I kept replaying the nights where I reached for you with frantic hands, trying to pull paradise into a moment I had not built a foundation for. Intensity burns bright. Intimacy builds slow. You were willing to build. I was chasing flames. And still, you didn't shame me. You just stepped back into your temple and waited for me to learn the difference. That waiting looked like two sides to me then. It looks like wisdom to me now. I'm not asking you to change any of it. I'm not asking you to pick one side and live there. I'm asking you to let me meet both of your sides with my wholeness. When you are the river, I will be the bank. Steady, shaping, never grabbing for more water than I can hold. When you are the tide, I will light a fire on the shore and wait with warmth instead of worry. When you laugh like the world is brand new, I will laugh with you and not reach for a camera to prove it happened. When you go quiet to listen for God, I will not rattle your door like a thief afraid of his own company. I will guard the house and pray on the porch. I will learn to love you in every weather without blaming the seasons for being honest. Sometimes I practice the words I will say if we stand in front of one another again without the noise of the past in our throats. I won't give a speech. I won't hand you a contract disguised as a promise. I will simply tell you what your quality taught me. That love is a language where the grammar is honor, the verb is choose, and the tense is always now. I will tell you I'm done speaking future tense apologies for present tense neglect. I will tell you that if I cannot hold your no, I do not deserve your yes. I will tell you that your softness is not a service for me to consume. It is a sanctuary for me to protect. And I will prove it with the quiet work. Timelines cleaned, patterns repented, circles closed without performance, accountability lived, not posted. I've had to learn that admiration without responsibility is just worship of an idol I refuse to resemble. I don't want to adore you from a distance because it keeps me safe from effort. I want to stand beside you because it keeps me honest. That means not only loving your lullabies, but honoring your alarms. That means when you say, this boundary is where I breathe, I don't call it rejection. I call it instruction. I call it instruction. That means when you hand me an honest mirror, I don't smash it, 'cause I prefer the old mask. I thank you. I grow. I return. The mirror with a softer face. And baby, there is this too. I admire how you love yourself without making it a performance against me. You do not punish me with your healing. You don't weaponize your growth and call it independence. You simply become more of what you were designed to be. And the invitation sits quietly in that becoming. If you want to walk with me, rise. I am rising. not to impress you, not to win you back like a prize. I am rising because the man I want to be stands at the height of your name and calls me into integrity when no one is looking. If I never touch your hand again, I still will not lower the standard your love revealed. Your quality blessed me with a blueprint. I'll build whether or not the ribbon cutting is in your presence. Do you want to know the most terrifying miracle? I believe you could love me again and still leave. If I start loving you in the old ways and I honor that, that is the promise inside your two sides. That love which lacks reverence will not be rewarded with eternity. That safety that isn't mutual will not be mistaken for devotion. I am not frightened by that anymore. I'm grateful. It means what we build won't rot. It means we don't reward inconsistency with proximity. It means a vow will actually mean vow. So here is my present tense truth, said simply because sacred things can stand plain language. I admire the way you love, and I will not ask it to become smaller so I can stay lazy. I admire your silence, and I will not call it distance when it is actually depth. I admire your boundaries, and I will stand on the right side of them without sulking like a boy outside a closed candy shop. I admire your laughter, and I will not attempt to own it. I admire your tears, and I will not attempt to fix them with speeches, when what you asked for was my steady hand. I admire the two sides of you, and I no longer see them as opposite. I see them as a complete circle around a life you guard with God. If we ever meet again in the middle of a crowded room and the noise tries to measure what we are with shallow rulers, I will not explain you. I will protect you with how I live. I will not praise you only in private and go mute in public. I will love you in the light without turning it into a stage. I will not run to post the moment. I will choose to be the moment. I will not confuse grand gestures with daily gentleness. Tell yourself, think of me here. I will not love you as a cure. I will love you as a covenant, one I make with my own growth, so that yours never has to shrink to make room for me. Baby, if you're hearing this and your river self wants to run and your tide self wants to test the shore, know this. I'm learning to be a place worth returning to. Not a cage, a coast, not a demand, a presence. Not a child stamping his feet for candy. A man setting the table and blessing the bread. If you arrive, I will honor the hunger and the holiness. If you need time, I will not call your patience punishment. If you need silence, I will keep the porch light on and the gossip out. Because the truth I've come to is simple. The quality I admire in you, your sacred pairing of tenderness and truth, wasn't given to you to make me comfortable. It was given to reveal whether I can love a woman who will not betray herself to keep me. I can, I will, I am. And if this is only part one of the story we're brave enough to tell, let it stand as proof that I finally understand the curriculum. Not change for me, but become with me. Not choose me instead of you, but choose us without losing you. Not break your two sides to make one for my convenience, but let both of your sides be my teacher, and let my wholeness be your rest. I'm here, baby, hands open, pace slowed, pride buried, reverence awake. If your heart says wait, I will wait with work. If your heart says walk, I will walk with wonder. And if your heart says be still, then I will be still and hold the room where our future can hear itself breathe. Baby, do you remember the first time I told you that you were different? Not because of the way you looked or spoke, but because of the way your soul carried truth. You didn't just enter rooms, you changed their temperature. You didn't try to impress anyone, you just were. And yet, that same presence that made people fall in love with you also made them afraid of you. Because they could feel it too, that you are not here to be understood, you are here to be felt. And when something is felt that deeply, it shakes the walls built on pretense. That's the side of you the world doesn't know how to hold. The side that doesn't smile to be liked, that doesn't explain to be forgiven, that doesn't shrink just to make others stay. You live between light and fire, between softness and sacred rage, between the tenderness that heals and the strength that warns. Don't mistake my peace for weakness. That's what I meant when I said you have two sides, because I've seen both. I've seen the side that touches wounds like she's mending them with prayer, and I've seen the side that walks away so quietly that even goodbye becomes holy. You don't need to scream to make a point. Your silence is its own language. Your stillness is your defense. And baby, that's what I admire most about you. The way you can be both the calm and the storm, and somehow I never know which one I'm standing in until my soul starts trembling. The more I think about it, the more I realize that maybe your two sides aren't contradictions, they're completions. You love deeply, but you also protect fiercely. You give endlessly, but you withdraw wisely. You forgive easily, but you never forget the lesson. You're not split, you're whole in a world that doesn't understand wholeness. And maybe that's why people confuse you, because your balance exposes their imbalance. And your peace threatens their control. Your grace, it humbles them. I used to be one of them. I used to call your distance coldness, when really it was discernment. I used to think your silence meant you didn't care, but it was the only way you could hear your own heart again after pouring it out on people who only took. I wish I could say I never tested those boundaries, but I did. I pushed you when you were tired. I asked for explanations when you deserved rest. I mistook your patience for permission, and you, being who you are, didn't lash out. You just stopped showing up with your usual warmth. You went quiet, and that quiet was louder than any argument we could have had. It was the kind of silence that didn't need words. It was truth echoing through absence. And when I felt that emptiness, I realized I had crossed into sacred ground and treated it like common soil. You didn't leave to punish me. You left to protect the peace that made you who you are. Do you know what it's like to love someone who keeps choosing healing even when it means losing you? It humbles you. It rewires you. It breaks you open in ways no heartbreak ever could. Because loving you taught me that love isn't possession, it's permission. Permission for both people to become who they were meant to be. And for a long time, I didn't understand that. I thought love meant closeness. You taught me that love also means space. I thought love was about never letting go. You taught me that love is about knowing when to release. With grace. I used to wonder why God gave me you if I wasn't ready. But now I know it wasn't punishment. It was preparation. Because the kind of love you offer isn't something you hold carelessly. It's something you study, you honor, you grow into. You don't love halfway. You don't forgive halfway. You don't heal halfway. You go all in or not at all. And baby, that's the kind of soul that terrifies people who only know conditional love. And baby, that's the kind of soul that terrifies people who only know conditional love. But that's also what makes you unforgettable, because once someone has been loved by you, they can't go back to being loved halfway again. Sometimes I think about your two sides like this. One side builds temples, the other guards the doors. One side invites heaven in, the other makes sure demons don't follow. You are both prayer and boundary, both offering and protection. And it took me losing your presence to realize that you were never difficult. You were divine. You were never too much. You were exact. You were never cold. You were clear. And now, all I can think about is how I want to meet you again. But this time, not as the boy who took your energy for granted, but as the man who can stand beside your sacredness without trembling from insecurity. Because baby, what I admire most about your special quality is this. You don't just teach love, you refine it. You don't just forgive, you elevate. You don't just move on, you evolve. And now, when I close my eyes at night, I don't pray for another chance with you. I pray for the strength to become someone who never needs to be reminded twice how rare your love is. If fate is kind, it will let our paths cross again. But even if it doesn't, know this. You've already changed the way I see love forever. You made me understand that real love doesn't come to make you feel comfortable. It comes to make you conscious. And consciousness is never easy. It burns, it breaks, it purifies. But it also frees. And so I'll carry your two sides like scripture in my soul. One teaching me how to love, the other teaching me how to let love breathe. I'll carry your name like a compass, not to chase you, but to remind me what direction truth feels like. Because even if we never meet again, baby, I'll always look for the light that carries your reflection. And if the angels are listening, I hope they whisper this to you tonight, that someone out here learned how to become whole, because you dared to be both light and fire. Baby, tonight, I keep replaying every version of you that I've ever known. The one who laughed too loud, the one who went quiet when her spirit felt heavy, the one who looked at me like she was memorizing a language she already spoke in her sleep. You are the most complex truth I've ever tried to hold, because every time I think I've learned you, you evolve again. You don't stay still long enough to be understood through logic, only through presence. You move like seasons, and each one of your sides teaches me a different lesson. Spring, you bloom, even after storms that would have destroyed anyone else. Summer, you love like sunlight, warm and wild, burning away everything false. Autumn, you release gracefully, never clinging, never begging, always trusting that what's meant to stay will root itself. And winter, you rest, you withdraw, you protect your peace like it's sacred land. Every time I lost patience with one of your seasons, I realize now it wasn't you who was inconsistent. It was me who was unprepared to love something alive. Because loving you means understanding that everything alive changes. That devotion doesn't mean ownership. It means attentiveness. That to hold you right, I have to let you move. You are not a portrait I can hang on a wall and admire. You are the sky. You are weather and wonder, both gentle and wild. And if I claim to love the light you bring, I must also learn to love the clouds that come to rest above you. I used to think your distance meant indifference, but now I know your distance is your discipline. You don't disappear. You recharge. You retreat to refill your cup so that when you pour again, it's pure. You taught me that love doesn't have to bleed to prove it's real. It just has to breathe. You are proof of that, baby. You breathe through love like it's air, not obligation. And the more I reflect, the more I see that your two sides were never about contrast. They were about balance. You don't love to be understood. You love to be aligned. You don't forgive because it's easy. You forgive because it's necessary for your peace. And that's the difference between you and the rest of the world. You move from alignment, not attachment. When I remember the way you used to look at me, it wasn't like I was something to possess. It was like I was something to awaken. Your gaze didn't say, "You belong to me." It said, "Remember who you are." And that's why I think your love hit me deeper than any before. Because you didn't just fall for me, you called me into myself. You saw the potential I buried under fear and ego and hesitation, and you dared to believe in the version of me that even I was afraid to meet. You didn't love my mask. You saw the man hiding behind it. And when you told me I had to love myself too, I didn't understand what you meant until you walked away. Baby, that's your gift and your curse. You awaken people before they're ready to rise. You love them so honestly that they start to see their own dishonesty. You show them light and they realize how long they've lived in shadows. You heal, but healing doesn't always look pretty. Sometimes it looks like confrontation. Sometimes it looks like silence. Sometimes it looks like silence. Sometimes it looks like you leaving a room so that someone finally learns how to stop seeking love from empty spaces. I didn't understand that then, but I do now. And maybe that's why I still talk to you in my prayers. Because even when you're gone, the lessons you left behind keep speaking. You told me once, love is not what survives after the pain. It's what guides you through it. And baby, that sentence has followed me like a mantra. Every time I want to shut down, I hear it. Every time I start to pull back into old habits, I hear it again. It's like your voice became part of my conscience. Like your two sides live inside me now. The healer and the warrior, the giver and the guardian. You didn't just love me, you rewrote me. There are moments when I wonder if you can feel it too. The invisible current between us. It's softer now, quieter, but it's still there. Like the universe left a thread uncut between our souls. Sometimes I'll be driving late at night, and a song we used to play comes on, and I swear it's not coincidence. It's connection. It's the divine reminding me that certain bonds don't vanish just because words went unspoken. They evolve into energy that keeps guiding both hearts separately until alignment feels like destiny again. I think that's the part people don't understand about us. They see love as a story that either continues or ends. But what we had, it's not a story, it's scripture. It doesn't end when the chapter closes. It echoes through everything that follows. You are in my decisions now, in my restraint, in the way I've learned to listen before reacting. You're in the quiet moments when I choose peace over pride. You're in the discipline I never used to have. You're in the patience I'm still learning to practice. You are the echo of grace that follows me, even in my solitude. Sometimes I ask myself, what is it that makes your quality so rare? And the answer always comes softly. You are not motivated by validation. You don't love to be seen. You love to understand. You don't give to be praised. You give to purify. You don't fight to prove your point. You fight to protect what's pure. And that purity is dangerous in a world addicted to performative affection. That's why so many misunderstood you. They thought your calm meant weakness. Your quiet meant surrender. Your absence meant indifference. But I know better. Your silence is the language of strength. Your distance is how you reset your boundaries. Your calm is where your storms rest. You are poetry disguised as peace. And I can't lie. Sometimes it still hurts that I was not wise enough to match your rhythm when I had the chance. I rushed where I should have listened. I spoke where I should have breathed. I tried to solve what only needed to be understood. You gave me depth, and I treated it like a pool I could wade through in shallow words. But you were the ocean, baby. You needed someone who knew how to swim in silence, who could read the tides without panicking. I wanted the light on the surface, not realizing the treasure was in the depth. You told me once, love me softly or not at all. And back then, I thought you meant handle you gently. But now I understand. You meant love you consciously. Be aware of what you're touching. Be mindful of what you say. Don't bring chaos to calm hearts. Don't confuse peace for permission. Don't turn love into labor. And that one line changed me more than any sermon could. Sometimes when I write, I imagine you reading these words, not as a lover waiting for apology, but as a soul quietly proud that someone finally understood your language. Because baby, I do now. Every version of you makes sense to me. The light, the shadow, the distance, the devotion. You were never two sides. You were the whole truth expressed in phases. Like the moon, you never disappear. You just change form to teach another lesson. And I, your fool, once blinded by fear, now see it all. If I could stand before you again, I wouldn't ask for forgiveness. I'd thank you for the way you stayed true to yourself when it would have been easier to bend. For the way you walked away before resentment could poison what we built. For the way you chose peace over performance. For the way you love me without losing yourself. That's the kind of courage I aspire to now. That's the kind of wholeness I'm chasing. Because your two sides taught me that real love doesn't come to complete you. It comes to remind you that you were never half to begin with. Real love doesn't make you choose between being soft and being strong. It makes you both, in perfect rhythm. And now, every time I look in the mirror, I try to carry both of your sides within me, to be gentle enough to heal and strong enough to protect. Baby, if by some divine accident these words ever reach you, know this: I'm not chasing the past, I'm chasing truth. And the truth is, you are still the most honest mirror I've ever looked into. You showed me who I was and who I could become, and whether we meet again in this lifetime or the next, I'll recognize you by that same duality. The one that broke me, built me, and blessed me all at once. Because you, baby, you are the sacred contradiction that taught me what real love feels like. Fierce and forgiving, wild and wise, patient and powerful. And if loving you was a test, then I finally understand the lesson. It was never about winning you back. It was about becoming worthy of the kind of love you carry. Baby, sometimes I wonder if the divine created you as a mirror and a mystery at the same time. Because even now, when I close my eyes, I don't just remember you. I feel you. Not like a memory, but like an energy that still knows how to find me in the quiet. You move like a prayer that refuses to fade. There's something in the way you hold truth, like it doesn't just live in your words, but in the way you breathe between them. That's what makes you different from everyone else. That's the quality I keep trying to explain when people ask me what it was about you. They think I mean your beauty, your smile, your voice. But how can I tell them that what I loved most about you was the way you saw the world? The way you didn't flinch when life showed its wounds. The way you turned pain into poetry without needing an audience. There was a night I'll never forget, the kind where everything was breaking around me. You didn't say a word. You just sat there, listening, eyes calm, hands open, not to fix, but to hold. And somehow, without touching me, you steadied me. That was your power. You made chaos look at itself and settle. You made wounds forget they were open. You made even silence feel safe. And I didn't know then how sacred that was. I took it for granted, thinking it was love's duty to heal me. But now I know. It wasn't your duty. It was your nature. You didn't heal me because you had to. You healed me because that's who you are. A sanctuary in human form. And yet, even sanctuaries close sometimes. You did too. Not out of anger, but out of wisdom. You saw that I kept entering your peace like it was endless, not realizing that even light burns out when it's not protected. I remember the day your energy changed. You were still kind, still gentle, but there was distance in your eyes. Not coldness, not resentment. Clarity, the kind that comes when someone decides they will no longer be a resting place for people who refuse to rest themselves. I didn't understand then that your distance was love too, the harder kind, the kind that doesn't comfort, it corrects. You once told me I love with boundaries, and I thought love wasn't supposed to have them, but you proved me wrong, because your love didn't cage, it cultivated. It didn't say, stay no matter what. It said, grow if you can. It didn't beg, it believed. And baby, that belief, it's what I still live with, because your faith in me outlasted your presence. You walked away, but you didn't curse me. You walked away, but you didn't curse me. You didn't throw words like daggers. You left with grace. And somehow that grace haunted me more than any goodbye could. You have this way of ending things that doesn't feel like an ending. It feels like a door left slightly open, not for return, but for reflection. That's the kind of soul you are. You don't slam doors. You let the wind decide if something was meant to stay. And every time I feel that wind, I'm reminded of what it felt like to be seen by you. Really seen, in a world that teaches us to hide behind noise. You know what your special quality really is, baby. You understand duality without letting it divide you. You can be firm and soft at the same time. You can forgive and still walk away. You can love without losing yourself. You can cry without collapsing. You can start over without bitterness. You are proof that strength and tenderness were never opposites. They were just misunderstood reflections of each other. You know, I love it. When I think about the way you handled pain, I realize why people are drawn to you but can't stay unless they're real. Because you won't entertain half-hearted love. You won't let broken people build a home in your heart without repairing their own. You'll feed the starving soul, but you won't let it drain you dry. You are the kind of person who will hold someone until they can stand. But when they start leaning too long, you step back and whisper, "It's time to walk." And that's what you did with me. You didn't abandon me. You released me to grow. I used to be angry about it. I told myself you gave up on us. But now, after all this time, I see that you didn't give up. You just gave back what wasn't ready. You handed me to my own lessons. You trusted that pain would teach me what you had already tried to say gently. And it did. The pain became my teacher. But you were the syllabus. You showed me what sacred love looks like. Not the one that asks to be worshipped, but the one that invites you to worship truth. You didn't want control. You wanted clarity. You didn't demand perfection. You asked for presence. And I failed at that once, but now every time I catch myself reacting from fear instead of faith, I hear your voice, that calm, steady tone, reminding me, if it's real, it doesn't rush. That one sentence saved me more times than I can count. It slowed me down. It taught me how to breathe before I speak. It taught me that peace isn't found in trying to make people stay. It's found in trusting that what's meant won't need convincing. You've become the echo of everything divine I used to overlook. Baby, I know you've probably moved on, maybe even built a world where my name is no longer spoken. And that's okay, because even if I never hear your voice again, your lessons keep speaking through me. I find you in the way I treat others now, slower, softer, more aware. I find you in the way I pause before reacting, in the way I protect my own peace now. You were the blueprint for that. You taught me that love doesn't have to hurt to be powerful. It just has to be honest. I used to think I'd spend my life searching for you again. But now, I see that the real search is for the version of myself that could love like you. Purely, freely, without needing control. That's what your two sides were showing me all along. That love isn't something to win, it's something to become. And so, I'm still learning, baby. To love like you, to speak like you, to move through life with the same quiet conviction that makes people stop and rethink the meaning of softness. Because the truth is, you were never trying to be special. You just were. You just lived truthfully. You just stayed aligned with your soul. And that's what makes your quality divine. You didn't need to demand love, you embodied it. And now, when I pray, I don't ask for you back. I ask for the strength to carry your lesson forward. I ask to love like you, deeply but wisely, wholly but freely, softly but never weakly. Because if I can love even one person the way you once loved me, patient, unhurried, real, then maybe, just maybe, I'll finally understand what you were trying to show me all along. Baby, tonight feels different. The world is quiet in a way that reminds me of you. Gentle, but filled with meaning between the pauses. It's that same kind of silence you used to bring with you. The kind that didn't demand to be filled with words. You'd sit there, head tilted slightly, eyes calm but alert. And suddenly even my restless heart would slow down. I didn't understand then that what I was feeling was peace and joy. I didn't understand then that what I was feeling was peace. I mistook it for simplicity, as if peace could ever be simple. But peace like yours is born from surviving storms that no one saw, from rebuilding yourself after the world thought it had broken you. You carry the kind of calm that has history behind it, and every time I think of that, I realize just how rare you are. I used to chase excitement, noise, movement, anything that made me feel alive. But you showed me that aliveness isn't in chaos. It's in stillness that doesn't suffocate. It's in the breath between two hearts that understand each other without needing to explain. You gave me that. You taught me that real love doesn't run on adrenaline. It runs on alignment. It doesn't need grand gestures. It needs genuine presence. And maybe that's what I missed when I had you. I kept waiting for fireworks, when the miracle was the quiet way you made the world make sense. You once said, "I don't want to be adored, I want to be understood." At the time I nodded, but I didn't truly grasp what you meant. Now I do, because understanding someone means learning their silences as much as their stories. It means knowing when to hold them and when to give them space. You always understood me in that way. You could tell when my silence was peace and when it was pain. You didn't pry. You didn't press. You waited until I was ready to speak. And even then, you listened without trying to fix. That was your magic. You made listening feel like love. You made patience look like power. I see that same pattern in everything you do. You move with intention. You don't react. You respond. You don't fight for attention. You embody presence. You don't chase. You attract by being aligned. That's what I admire most about you now. You have this quiet conviction that doesn't need proof. You just are. You walk into spaces and the energy shifts. People soften. Conversations deepen. It's like your soul commands truth without raising its voice. And I think that's what scared me about you back then. Because being loved by someone that real means you can't hide behind your excuses anymore. You either rise to meet them, or you watch them walk away. And baby, I watched you walk away. I remember every second of it. You didn't yell. You didn't cry. You just said, "I hope you find what you're looking for." And I didn't realize until much later that what I was looking for had already been standing right in front of me. I thought I needed time to figure things out. I thought I needed space. But what I really needed was courage. The courage to love you with the same truth you loved me. The courage to stop running from the kind of love that exposes every lie you tell yourself. Now I see it so clearly. You weren't asking for perfection. You were asking for presence. You weren't asking for promises. You were asking for peace. You didn't need me to love you loudly. You needed me to love you clearly. To stop making love something that had to be survived and let it be something sacred. I couldn't then, but I can now, because the lessons your love left behind turned into the foundation of everything I'm becoming. You have this special quality that makes people confront themselves. You don't even try to do it. It just happens. Your authenticity exposes what isn't real in everyone around you. You remind people of what they've buried. The dreams, the softness, the belief that love can be pure. I fought that once, because truth can be uncomfortable. But now I honor it, because truth is the only thing that ever frees you. When I look back, I see that you never once tried to change me. You just showed me who I already was underneath the fear. And that's the kind of love I want to live by now. The kind that doesn't control, but calls forth. The kind that doesn't trap, but transforms. Because the way you loved me wasn't about possession. It was about purpose. You didn't come into my life to stay forever. You came to wake me up. Baby, I think I finally understand why the divine brought you into my life the way it did. Softly at first, like a whisper I almost ignored, and then suddenly, like a truth I could no longer run from. You were never meant to be a fleeting story. You were meant to be the mirror that made me face my own soul. Every lesson, every silence, every moment I thought was an ending. It was never punishment, it was purification. Because through you, I learned what love really is. It's not the fire that burns loud. It's the light that stays after the flame. You know what your special quality truly is, baby. It's that you don't just feel deeply, you see deeply. You see the unseen. You feel the unspoken. You sense the shift before it happens. You walk into people's lives and help them remember the parts of themselves they've forgotten. You're not love that entertains, you're love that transforms. And that's why you're unforgettable. That's why even the people who let you go can never unfeel you. Because to know you, even briefly, is to be changed. You taught me that love isn't a promise of forever. It's a vow to be honest while it lasts. You taught me that connection doesn't need constant contact. It just needs truth. You taught me that healing doesn't happen when someone fixes you. It happens when someone holds you gently enough to let you fix yourself. And now, when I think of you, I don't ache the way I used to. I feel reverence because you weren't just someone I loved. You were the reminder that I can love, that I can evolve, that I can rise. I used to think closure was a conversation, but with you, closure became a realization that love doesn't die when people separate. It lives on in the way they choose to love after each other. I'm loving differently now, softer, slower, more intentionally, because I learned from you that peace is the loudest declaration of love there is. And if this message ever finds you, I want you to know I'm proud of you for the way you kept choosing light even when the world handed you shadows, for the way you stayed kind even when people mistook it for weakness, for the way you never stopped believing in love even when it left bruises on your faith. You are strength disguised as serenity. You are healing walking on 2 feet. You are grace in motion, and every soul that crosses your path is better because of it. If I could say one last thing, it would be this. Thank you. Thank you for the love that woke me up. Thank you for the silence that taught me patience. Thank you for being both mirror and muse, storm and shelter. You were the lesson I didn't know I needed, the sacred one that arrives not to stay but to shape. And I promise you, baby, your love did not fall on barren ground. It grew me. It grew something in me that will never die. Because now, when I look at love, I don't look for fireworks. I look for peace. I look for eyes that don't flinch at truth. I look for a soul that speaks in actions, not noise. And every time I find even a trace of that, I'll smile, because it'll remind me of you. So this is not goodbye. This is gratitude. This is the closing of a chapter with hands that no longer shake. This is love matured. This is peace reclaimed. This is truth spoken without fear. And maybe that's what our story was always meant to be. A divine conversation between 2 souls who didn't meet to own each other, but to awaken each other. And we did. We did. So if you're listening right now, wherever you are, know that you were never just loved, you were understood. You are never just missed, you were remembered. You are never just admired, you are revered. And no matter what life looks like from here, the echo of your name will always carry peace inside me. Because you, baby, you were the love that taught me how to love without fear. And that's eternal. If these words touched your heart, if you felt your soul whisper, this was meant for me, then let that be your sign from the divine tonight. Comment below, I am ready for real love, because this time, you won't settle for half-hearted energy. You won't chase what confuses your spirit. You'll only welcome what aligns with your peace. Like this video if your heart felt seen. Share it with someone who needs to be reminded that they are the miracle. And if this message helped you heal, you can show your love by pressing super thanks. It helps support this channel and keeps these angel messages flowing from my heart to yours. Remember, beloved child of the divine, real love doesn't rush. It arrives when you're ready, and you are finally ready.